Facebook, and welcome. And this is Simone Claridge, your natural and consciousness healing expert. Today I had a question I am thrilled to answer, and love that you guys engage now a little bit more. Thank you so much. And the question was more what didn't work for me in the healing process. And I would love to share something more personal from my own healing story as a process. So you do know that healing, holistic healing, the healing of the entirety is definitely a process. So we are definitely not talking about just if you have a pain in your physical body. We're not just talking about if you have, can't stay calm. We are not just talking about that your mind is a little bit foggy and you can't focus, or you don't get the information that you're looking for. We're not talking about just those things. We talk about them all. So healing is, first of all, really need to hone in on, it's a process. It's not, what my healing process is often and most likely very different to your process, but in the principles and in the laws, it's not. So we do rely on understanding the laws of it. And I think that's a really, really good question that was asked. So what is working and what has been working for me is another question. But I think what has been not working for me is helping us as well to see the importance of understanding the process, understanding where you are in this process, and so you can relax and move on, right? So, I mean, for me it was, and I come right out from the get-go, so I was sitting with that, and I was, the first thing that came at this moment in this process in my mind was that I focused actually unconsciously on things that I didn't want. And well, you probably have heard that quite often, that healing, you're focusing on health and you're focusing on progress, and you focus on that your inner wisdom shows up, that your internal healing abilities show up. Well, there is often something happening in the subconscious that is quite interferent and don't allow you to experience that. That's how it looks like, right? So in the process of my own trauma, which it took me to the mid of my 40s just to recognize that this would have an impact. So, I mean, all my life till this moment, when I then went into the process, it took me really a couple of years to realize how much this, mental idea or this belief, the beliefs I created when I was in traumatic situation in childhood, those, patterns or programs created in your own mind that tell you a story, so to speak. But the story has not all information. It's not complete. And nobody has been helping you when you're little to rectify the story, to make it correct, to bring in, like, have you seen this? And, well, look, this is what happens, you know. So just helping you through a very difficult situation. Suppose you lost your little bunny, as an example. and this was absolutely traumatic. Like your Plüschtier, we say, your little bunny that you play with, so maybe it was of importance, or your blankie, it was of importance to you, and you may lost it. So that must have been for you, or it could have been for you, a traumatic incident. Even though for the adults, it's not, like, it's just a blankie or just a bunny. No, it was of importance because that had a different meaning to you, and then the parents maybe have seen, and they didn't see your trauma. So it was not even on a conscious level that the parents didn't want to help you. They just didn't see that as how important it was for you. And so now there was nobody helping you in this moment to come up with a very intelligent solution, because we're not cognitive developed enough to logically think through that, as we are now trained as an adult. So often in those moments, we are coming up with our own story, and that own story can be of great help, helping you through that situation, but it is probably missing some parts of it. So if you would have had a mom or dad with you, or an adult, someone helping you in this process and saying, well, look, the blankie, this is now something that belongs to the next small child. You are now growing out of that, so you can let go of it. And something else shows up for you. So that's now a development for you to actually go into the next phase of your life. That often is not there. So, and then you make a meaning out of that. And loss is quite often very, very dramatic for your ongoing life. So if you made a meaning out of that, that's bad. And that has a result of that your life is now threatened, that when you lose something, that your complete life will be at stake. So you have to start from zero, so to speak. So all your whole rug is pulled, and just by your blankie was taken away, or you lost your rabbit, your little bunny. So those incidents, they are then staying kind of open, as an open loop. They are not fully come to a closure because they're missing information about the truth in the time and space when it happened. So our perspective is not withdrawn out enough, so we cannot see it from, I would say, from an eagle eye perspective. We cannot see that. That helps us obviously not really much in this healing process. So I needed to learn often, I mean, in this process. So when you had a traumatic incident, and I'm saying traumatic incident, they're on the scale, right? So on a scale, very small, so there was a traumatic incident, but it was, I mean, not of extreme, right? So it could be very small, or you didn't get the lollipop in the store when you went with your mom or your dad. It could be more dramatic when you lost your mom in the store. Even for a couple of seconds, that could have been way more traumatic. And it could be way more traumatic on the scale of 1 till 100, so to speak, on traumatic scale. Could be way more traumatic when you lost your mom. So you see there are differences, but trauma is still happening to every child on this planet. And well, it is as it is. We are then taking those traumas into our daily life when they are not resolved. And weirdly enough, we are creating then a solution within ourselves in order to move on, to cope with that. It's not solved, but we can handle it. So it's like your personality becomes like very different now, has a direction in order to not experience that again, or be able to move through that the next time. So then you are maybe creating an personality trait that's not more liked. Well, yeah, and then it becomes, over the period of time, you are attracting more of those events, situations where you're proving to yourself that that is true, that loss is bad. And so the situations coming in your life, you give that meaning, what it means. In this moment, you react to it instinctively now, because your subconscious will take this on, so it's not more consciously. So you act on it over and over again and prove every time to yourself that this, how you act and how you do things, is correct. And so it is really difficult then, especially when you go over decades doing that, to see that you have been actually really helping in this process to create the situations so you can now, as an adult, as with more cognitive understanding, rectify that and say, no, wait a minute. All these events in my life has brought me to this point here, and now do I want to keep that? Well, I was not aware how intense. We built then walls after walls after walls, because we are coming to the same painful wound over and over and over again, and we still need to survive that in our instinctual mind. We still need to find solution to something that we still cope with. So we don't even realize we are coping with something until it becomes so unbearable. The pain becomes so unbearable, helping us to wake up to what's really happening. So I did start to really wake up, because my life was very bumpy. And well, I can't complain about life, but I do say there have been quite phases that kept the story inside of me very alive without knowing. And I was thinking, well, you know, physically I'm okay. Emotionally, I had the most issues probably, and not even realizing that I contributed with my assumptions to the story. And that was of absolute importance to first to realize. And I definitely realized. So I focus actually on the things that I don't want. And even though in the beginning I intellectually could understand that I do that, but I didn't experience enough, because I was coping mainly with my issues. So like, fine, I don't know what it means. I can understand what I'm telling myself. Cool, I'm looking for that, right? So, until I really then got into that and was starting to listening to my own story. That whole process was very interesting, actually. So I really enjoyed that process looking backwards. But I also had the most resistance to going into this process. And that took, I mean, seriously, decades to wanting and to come to the point that I'm now freely want to see what I'm telling myself. And that is even unconscious. This is like, Oh my goodness, right? So fortunately, there's enough on this planet of amazing people. They share and give their advices and their say their healing stories, share that. So that was something that opened me up for it. And the pain, of course, was the driving force. And so now you see already, the pain was the driving force, is probably for everyone. So, or for the most of the people, they are not freely wanting to look and rectify what they think it's in their conscious mind happening. But the pain is a good starting point, right? So just to acknowledge, oh my God, I am focusing seriously on what I do not want, and that is even scary. But the pain is not the villain. The pain, no matter on what level it is the warning system to say, wake up, wake up. It's a natural system built in to, helping you to wake up to what's really going on. So that is of importance, I do think. And I started then to find my tools that has been working for me, and I also experimented with other methods and tools that has not been working too great. So one thing I can say, what absolutely did not work is when you are working with a person that doesn't know what they're talking about, so to speak, and guide you into more of the direction what you don't want. So like you cannot work with someone or something that helps you more to dig into the story, so to speak, or into the you want to have someone is able to do that and to bring you to completion and bring you out of that. So that is of importance. A lot of people I raised my fingers to that on as well. So when you help other people and you come from that perspective, you're risking that you're really hurting that person, because you're driving them further into the direction of where they don't want to go. And there are layers underneath. They are not pretty. So in your own process, right, they are not so pretty, and you will find out that you really don't want to help other people for a moment, right? So that layer of protection is there too, because of if you feel that you have been giving yourself out and over again, that layer may show up for you as you are really showing from the outside that you want to help, and then like any action, it's like, nope, don't want to do it, don't want to help you. You know, that is not cool. So but you will find that. So it's trust your heart in this moment. That's what helped me. You trust your path, you trust what's happening, and relax into that. So I tested things out. I love experimenting with things and finding the wisdom nuggets in it. So it was important to me because it was a playful element. That was of importance. There's a difference with I need to fix my health or I play life, right? So there's a huge difference when you become more like you understand how life more goes, and then you say, let me enter that and let's play with that. I have no idea. Let's play what will happen. That is a different state. You may sense and feel that. Then, boy, I have to go in and I need to fix that, right? That's very different. So one is coming from something is wrong with me. And the other one is, I know who I am. And well, let's play. If I don't like it, I stop it, right? So that is a better state to work with. So as I said, there's a lot of people out, and they are in, I have to fix you. So that's not helping. That's helping them to get better with what they feel and think, but they also give their ideas about how life goes. That's not cool. So you want to find support and help that is allowing you to have what you think is right, and do not interfere in this process. So that, you know, I mean, most people come to a practitioner or to ask for help. So like, please avoid for me to have that experience. That's not the point, right? The importance is that you can relax in any situation there is, because it's your life and it's telling your story. So when what I was very successful with, when I started doing parts work, and parts work is pretty cool. I naturally have been doing that without knowing, you know, yeah, well, everything gets a label nowadays, right? So naturally, that was my healing tool in order to just at least cope when I was little, to deal with. So it's a way of understanding and listen to your own stories, and then see what you have been creating in order to help yourself. And they can be experienced as a kind of parts within yourself, and they are showing up like pot. Everything tells you different because they come from a different experience, and they all have an opinion. So if you just sit down on a chair and you try that out, if that would be true or not, just sit for, say, give yourself 15 minutes to just sit in the chair. No, nothing thinking, no doing, no nothing. Just thinking, I'm sitting in the chair, and then let this thought go and see what happens. So you will be surprised how fast some of your parts are coming in and trying to pull you away from, oh, I need something to eat right now. I can't sit just here. It could be another one. Another one could be like, boring right now. You know, all these different parts of yourself will show up, or can show up, if you start to listening to it. That was a very, very helpful tool, I have to say. And then when you engage into internal conversation to those parts, you can then ask, well, what happened? Why are you here? What is your intention? What do you want from me? You know, so then you can engage from the perspective of your center point, engage and ask those questions as if you would be in a courthouse, right? So what's going on? I need to hear everything. And that I is the observer asking all these questions, that's of importance. So then you are listening to all the stories that you tell yourself, and you will find there are not too many different stories that you have been creating and you're telling yourself. So you find there are parts in you, they are actually, how should I say that? They are supporting that you are not finding the cause for what's going on within yourself. They are also layered, and one part may have created another part in order to protect that part to be seen, the vulnerable part. So we are all subject probably to discuss that within ourselves. So I continue doing so when I feel it's a good tool to use. And so digging and letting that completely tell its story in this process, I figured out what I actually would have needed in this moment. And then there's a process that can be added. I use the completion process. It's a really cool tool. That works like a charm for like really intense traumatic situation. And so what happens is that you unhook yourself detach yourself from the story by giving what was needed in this moment. And great solutions are coming out of that. And it's actually that this looping story becomes a closure and kind of disappears, goes into nothingness, and helps you to become more in tune with who you are. So this that center point. So you're in this process, you can sink and sink and sink, actually really in deeper layers of yourself, until you come to a point, it was at least in my process, where you come to that kind of, I would call it rock bottom. The cause of everything there's out, right? So I thought this was intense for me. And you come to the rock bottom, which is the fear, and especially the fear of death, which I encountered then. And you're sitting in your chair, you're in a meditative state, that is a state you observe, because you're going slowly through the layers, you're doing and practicing this every day. And so you are able to allow yourself to have the experience and to fully close. And that actually is of importance, to realize that death can nothing do to you. And as I said, I can share that, but this is an experience that everyone has to take themselves. Any fear, right? So that the fear itself is really not the problem. It's a very, it's a process that is made for this body, for this physicality, in order to survive. It's a program. And but it doesn't help you that much if you don't have an experience just intellectually to hear about that. So it's really of importance that you come to that experience yourself. Nobody can give that to you. So I thought that was important in order to see what didn't work for me. So all my life, I have been trying to do something in order to keep me away from experiencing that again, because I was so afraid. Fear was my major issue that I didn't want to face. And it took me, seriously, a couple of years to allow myself to have it. And so it's a process. And then out of that, I was able to really focus on what I want. And as a result, my life started to change in beautiful ways I couldn't imagine before. So I know not everyone comes from a traumatic background as I did. So if you had a less traumatic childhood, as I said, it could be that someone strangely looked at you and that was traumatic for you as a child. Those are easier to solve issues. And so when we can face that and we can face it together, then, and you have a good help and guidance for that, then you can come out from that. You can see what really is happening, that you're all this not. But as I said, it's an experience. That is something you will get for yourself, and nobody can take that away from you. So that's I really love in this healing process. If it's a process that is coming from the truth, so to speak, then you will have, there is no doubt about it, you will have results. They are showing up in your normal life, in your relationships, hopefully first with yourself, and then reflecting outwards into the relationships you have with everyone around you as well, into all areas of life. And this is a reflection of who you start to know who you are. So if you just imagine for a moment, if you are not afraid of death, just for a second, right? If you know there is that you're not stopping to have an experience of life, maybe not in this physical body, but if you're here on planet, wouldn't be afraid. And I'm not saying you should, I'm not saying that's what needs to be done right now, so but I'm saying if you wouldn't have that, how would your life be different? What would you do? How would you go for? Would there be anything that is holding you back? What would be your focus? Or you could also imagine if you wouldn't feel pain, or no pain would exist, or no definition of death would exist. So no suffering and pain would exist, no death would exist. And I'm just saying, play with that. You know, it's a playful thing. It's not. I'm saying it's not. You shouldn't use that as a reality. I'm asking you to just play with that and see what happens. How would your life be different? And so, and then you can say, well, interesting. So why am I holding myself back if I think I could do these things, right? So then you're on the right track because you're starting to be curious. That's what we definitely need. So, and then you may have the ability to see that all that's happening in your life has been there for a good reason, because you start experiencing it for a good reason, and you don't have to continue that reason when you give it what's needed. And so that is what I think was really important in my healing story, in my healing process, where the huge change happened. Well, as I said, I hope you don't take decades to overcome our personal ego, so to speak. The ego is not there because it's bad. Our ego had a function that you gave it to it. It had a function on the physical, and it protects you, makes you merge into society and function. And unfortunately, so it has always a background of I want you to survive. So that's the opus operandi for that ego. So it doesn't look too much of how everyone else will survive. So and then it can anchor itself, that perspective, as a mind issue. So the way how you think might anchor itself deeply into your life. So that needs to be looked at as well. So there's like kind of an ego happening on on your physical body, on that plane or on that level, and also in your mind. So it anchors itself very consciously into, and that's what you think how life should go. So those are the areas that start to loosen up when you allow yourself this process of digging deep into your internal life. And there's nothing outside that can make that happen. There's zero as guidance, help, support, reflection, yes. And you need to look at reflection, yes. My intuition started to open up, I mean, dramatically when that process helped me to unravel and allow myself to let go of that fear and see what's behind that, like going through, right? Always going through. And so weirdly enough, like sometimes I didn't know what the next step will be, and then so I just wait a second, center myself, and then suddenly attention goes to open this email. So intuitively, I mean, there's a knowing, so to speak. I need to open this email. It's not a voice in my head. It's just, I know I have to open that, or I have to go to the bookshelf and pull this book and open a page. So that's a knowing that comes for me with that now. And I rely on that and trust. And you still will have phases where you are going with your old perception, your old habits, and that's totally cool. But you also become more aware that this is happening, and that you focus on something you really don't want again. So then it's easier to pull out. So that is what I'm also helping with the program, by the way. So I hope you're part of it, to come to the program. And we are training that together because it does need training to come back over and over again, to focus on what you want, and also train you to how do you stay centered and not being pulled by daily life activities into other people's stories that make you feel in a certain way you don't want, and so on. So how can you be yourself in this world as it is right now, and how can you really gain that reorganization that will happen in your mental, in your emotions, and in your physical. And it will take time. So I can't promise you anything different. You need to practice it. You need to focus on that, what you really want, so the body can reorganize itself, and it does. So there's no doubt about it by law. There's no doubt about that your body will reorganize depending on where you're coming from, the source of your intention. And well, so that's what's the program of 6 weeks will get you started with, and then there will be ongoing things happening for you, so that we can together grow and step into the healthy you that you are already, just haven't been focusing on it, so to say. All right. So if there are any question, feel free to send comments, and also your question on, use the True Better You website to ask the questions there on the contact page. So hope to see you soon. All right, see you then next week. All right, bye-bye.